Okay. Let's make sure just to get something loud. Good enough. That should sync the audio. Um, okay, so for this week, there's kind of just like one small thing that I touched in like the notes side of the application is to switch stream and dev. I think last week I left myself on the dev branch, so I wanted to put myself back on the stream very easily. So I can at least add to dev kind of a thing. And then if I refresh this page here, it's there, right? Um, so that's not really an issue, and it was just a convenience for me. This won't be left in the UI probably, but the separation of streams could be in the future, but it'll probably be something a little different. Also, there's a kind of funny bug if I type the text goes whack. Um, but yeah, so most of the work was done on the podcast side. You can see there's this kind of like now playing thing. Most of this is hard coded. It does properly work, but I can't actually play while I'm recording, otherwise the thing will break. Or my audio recording session will stop. So let's say if I want to search some podcasts, there's the Urban Loop podcast by Rohan, one of my coworkers. So for example, I can subscribe to that guy, and boom, now it's showing up in my subscription view. Um, and initially, right now, I have it not refreshing because it'll hit the API every time. And I only want to hit the API once for now. But I can go ahead and load that. You can see the data gets populated um, pretty much instantly. And I can go and play, but again, it'll stop the recording. And there's one bug in the relations that I haven't totally built yet is just loading the podcast image here. And that's already stored in the database. That's how I get it here. There's this duplicate This American Life here because of a bug that I have in core data. I think I can probably replicate it here if I do this again. It'll do another one. Um, it only works for one subscription, but I think this is something how I'm managing my state is improper. So yeah, that's really it. And then the podcast inbox kind of just has everything. It's not sorted right now. I didn't add a sort descriptor for it, but yeah, at least this is the basics of the podcast app. I think probably by next week we'll have something that we can I'll iron out the bugs that I introduced and maybe integrate it into the notes application next week, and then that'll lead down to some bigger questions about how to organize this data. I think that's going to be one of the main things is figuring out how we want to organize and display this data um, on the stream, as well as be able to query it and do all kinds of things with it. Because this is just a front end for data capture. Ultimately, at least this what I'm doing here. This is just a data capture. Um, so yeah, that's the main thing, and then I'll have a separate video um, more about the dev details here, um, where we are, what we went through, things we learned,